John 3 verse 16. For God so loved the world, that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. Enjoy the show.
Zorya sits at the table, the big book in front of him. Looking into the camera, he addresses the viewing audience.
Back in the day, men carved them with their hands. These days, they come in the form of currency, people, fancy vehicles, designer clothing, luxury homes, fine jewels, drugs and alcohol, to name a few. They're called idols, which begs the question: how does God view idolatry? With the hope of becoming the world's next superstar, Dylan Spencer's willing to do whatever it takes to fulfill his lifelong dream of stardom. I await Dylan's arrival here, in the King's Dome.
Meet Marlene Spencer, 60, as humble and polite as they come. Her full crop of gray hair and vintage clothes give her an air of years older than she actually is. She opens the front door of her home to reveal the assignment: Dylan Spencer, 24, a soft-spoken, mild-mannered young man who lives in skinny jeans and sneakers. A large dimple in his cheek lends character to his ruggedly handsome features. Smiling, he addresses his mother.
Hi, Mom.
She fixes her gaze on her son, pleasantly surprised to see him. She opens the door further, and he enters. William Spencer, 65, a stern-looking man of few words, is seated in the recliner reading the newspaper. Marlene and Dylan walk into the entranceway. They're both smiling. Marlene addresses her husband. Look who's here, William. Dylan greets his father.
Hello, Father. Good to see that you are doing well.
William continues to read the newspaper like they're not here. Marlene and Dylan make nothing of it. That's William. After entering the room, they settle down on the sofa next to one another. Marlene addresses Dylan. You must be starving.
I just ate, Mom. Thanks.
What's been happening with you, Dylan? You haven't been home in ages.
Keeping myself busy, audition after audition.
Any luck?
If at first you don't succeed, try again.
I never slaved in a factory to put you through film school for nothing.
I have an audition next week, small role.
I will be praying for you, son.
I need a full-time acting job, Mom, not prayer.
Marlene smiles warmly, replies. I'd like to visit with you from time to time. Where do you stay?
With a friend. I will have my own place soon, no worries. I was able to land a 9-to-5er. I start tomorrow. Restaurant stuff, no big deal.
At hearing that, William rolls his eyes in disgust. Your father and I have decided to sell the house. Dylan's expression is one of mild surprise.
You and Dad love this house.
This old house is too big for just the two of us. We're looking for something smaller, near the water. You know how much your father loves the water. Dylan glances to his father, who is still deeply engrossed in the newspaper. Dylan addresses Marlene.
When I make it as an actor, I'm gonna buy you and Dad the most beautiful lakefront house.
Hearing that, William looks to Dylan and replies.
A real man buys his own home, pays his own bills.
He rises to his feet and continues.
Stay away from acting, Dylan. A lot of your kind in that line of work. It'll only make life worse for you.
He departs. Feeling humiliated, Dylan says nothing, only stares rigidly straight ahead. We are inside Buffett's restaurant. Its decor is exquisitely tasteful, its ambience warm and convivial. Most of the tables are taken and the bar is packed. The staff members are fully uniformed in a white t-shirt with the word Buffett's emblazoned on it, skirts for the women, slacks for the men. It's Dylan's first day on the job. The fellow steering him through the crowd speaking with him is the manager, Henry, 35.
As you can see, there are 4 buffet sections. Italian, American, Mexican, and the notorious Chinese buffet is located on the far side of the restaurant. Okay so far?
Dylan nods. They walk over to a section of the restaurant near to the kitchen entrance where 2 employees stand talking. They are Paul, 25, and George, 20. They both wear an apron and hairnet. Henry introduces Dylan to Victor.
Paul's our head cook.
Paul addresses Dylan.
You must be the new assistant manager. That would be me. Man, I feel sorry for you.
Henry introduces Dylan to George.
George works the line.
Dylan and George exchange smiles and shake hands. Jezebel walks into frame. Paul and George's eyes light up. They're both madly in love with her. Jezebel addresses Henry. We're running out of space in Section A.
Make space, Jezebel.
He says this to her looking slightly annoyed, then introduces her to Dylan.
Dylan's the new assistant manager.
He then looks to Dylan and addresses him to Jezebel.
Jezebel's our head hostess.
Jezebel flashes Dylan her most dazzling smile and addresses him. Things can get a bit hectic around here. I will be on the floor all day if you need anything. Paul addresses Jezebel.
How come you never offered me any help when I first started working here?
He's joking, then again he's not. She pinches Paul's cheek, a friendly gesture, then answers his question. Because you're an extraordinarily gifted worker.
No, you see, that's where you're wrong. I specifically need your help.
That was funny. Dylan starts to laugh. Henry addresses the group.
Everyone back to work.
Turning around, Paul and George stroll back into the kitchen. Jezebel shoots Dylan a wink before walking away. Dylan watches her go, his curiosity stirring. There's something about Jezebel he's drawn to, clearly. The audition room is where we are. Dylan stands on stage looking a tad nervous, a movie script in his hand. The casting director and his associate are seated in the front row.
We'd like to see you move to some dance music, Dylan. Dance? I never ever dance.
His gaze quickly runs over the script, and then he looks back to the casting director and continues speaking.
I don't see any dancing in the script. That's about to change.
Music please, the casting director hollers that out. After a beat, dance music begins to play. Dylan merely stands there, gazing at the casting director wearing apprehensive expression. With a courteous grin, the casting director addresses Dylan.
Ready whenever you are,
A deep breath, then Dylan begins to move his feet from side to side. Stiff as a board, he begins to bump his shoulders up and down. This is not dancing. Stop the music, the casting director hollers out. The music stops. After which, the casting director addresses Dylan.
Dylan, I like you. Really, I do. You look the part, not to mention you're a fantastic monologuist. All you got to do is prove to me that you can dance a little. Calm down, take a deep breath. You can do this.
Dylan takes a deep breath. Then, with a beaming expression, he addresses the casting director.
I'm ready. Wonderful.
Music please, the casting director hollers out. Dance music begins to play. Dylan starts experimenting with different hip-hop dance moves. Everything from the running man to flossing to break dancing. His inability to keep time rhythm is pathetic to say the least. It's been confirmed. He can't dance, but he sure is trying hard. The casting director can only shake his head from side to side in disappointment. We are at Buffett's restaurant inside Dylan's office. Dylan's seated behind the desk with his face buried in some Fame and Fortune magazine.
One day, I will own you.
Referring to a beautiful mansion in the magazine. He turns the page and starts talking to a chromed-out Bentley, expressing his desire for it.
Will you marry me?
Jezebel enters the doorway. She addresses Dylan. Spare a minute? Dylan puts the magazine down, diverts his attention to her. The Leafs are playing this weekend.
Toronto Maple Leafs? Weird.
He frowns in distaste as he says this to her. Grew up in Canada.
Guess that means you support the Jays and Raptors too.
But not Drake. He rolls his eyes in distaste. The playoffs have arrived. Game 1 is tomorrow. I have got to be there.
I don't think so, Jezebel. You're scheduled to work this weekend.
I never miss playoff games, Dylan. He snickers then replies.
I'm supposed to let you take a day off work to catch some hockey game.
Henry does it for me all the time.
Henry's on vacation. I'm the assistant manager, which means I'm in charge.
Her eyes move to the movie poster hanging on the wall, which features the adorable and well-known star Luke Weston. Searching for a way to lure Dylan in, she comments on the poster. Loving the poster. He turns to look at the poster then replies.
Classy. Rich. Good looking. I envy that guy.
I've met Luke Weston. That gets Dylan's attention. He perks up in his seat, wide-eyed and attentive. I actually know quite a few high-end people in the movie industry. Come to the hockey game with me and I will fill you in on the latest gossip.
I can't take a day off work until Henry gets back from vacation.
Smirking, she replies. Leave it to me. Then, she walks away. We are at Dylan's parents' house. William seated in the recliner as usual reading a book. Dylan and Marlene are seated next to each other on the sofa immersed in a conversation. Marlene addresses Dylan, a worried expression upon her face. There's plenty work right here in the city. Give it some thought, Dylan.
Hollywood's where it's at, Mom. If I land this role, my foot's in the door. Finally got an opportunity to make it?
I don't know, Dylan. It doesn't feel right. Who is this guy Stewart? Have you done any research on him?
My coworker ranted and raved about Stewart at the hockey game the other day. His credentials checked out online.
When William hears that, he stands up and leaves the room, shaking his head in dismay.
If I land the role, I will essentially be starting a new life in Hollywood. I can't do this without your support, Mom.
Marlene's eyes swell with motherly love. She wants nothing more than to see her son happy. Oh honey, I will support you in anything you do. Only be careful, Dylan. Be very careful. Hollywood-related horror stories are nothing new to me. There was a troubling note in her voice which causes Dylan to stare at his mother. We are somewhere in the Hollywood Hills. Dylan drives along a winding trail which leads to thousands of square feet of real estate. It is an elegant grandeur ranch sitting on acres of green pastures. Now, this is paradise, Dylan mumbles that to himself. He parks in a triple-car driveway surrounded by the most beautiful manicured greens. Placing the gear shift into park, he gets out of the car. Standing on the porch, Dylan rings the doorbell.
Back here.
When Dylan hears that, he walks around to the back of the ranch. We are at the back of the ranch. Amidst this deeply peaceful oasis is a large pond, cascading vines, various trees, and a curved garden bed brimming with color. Stunning! Wearing his karate uniform, Stewart, a tall, fit, successful businessman of 50, sits on the lawn meditating, eyes closed, legs crossed. Dylan enters the yard. Sensing his presence, Stewart addresses him with his eyes still closed.
Glad you could make it, Dylan. It's nice to finally meet you, Stewart. What's your specialty? Everything. Care to be a little more specific? Careful, Dylan. Curiosity killed the cat.
Opening his eyes, he shoots Dylan a friendly smile and continues to speak.
I'd appreciate your thoughts on my home. You own all this?
Stewart does the rich white guy laugh, then speaks.
Give me a minute to change and I will show you around.
He gets up and moves in the direction of the ranch to go change. We are inside a horse stable. There are well-groomed, muscular race horses in stalls. Armando, 35, a happy-go-lucky Mexican in cowboy hat and boots, stands outside a stall grooming a horse. Dylan and Stewart enter the horse stable. Stewart addresses Dylan.
These horses are undoubtedly my pride and joy.
They walk over to a particular horse named Lucky 7.
My favorite horse, Lucky 7. She won the Triple Crown, not once, but twice.
Dylan's expression tells us that he's impressed.
Gambling man? Not much. Gambling's the gateway to financial freedom. My fortune has very little to do with my dealings in Hollywood and everything to do with strategic betting. I'll teach you a few betting tips if I have some free time during your visit in the coming weeks. That would be great, Mr. Vanderbilt. Call me Stewart.
Stuart hollers after Armando. Armando walks over wearing his signature stretched smile. He politely greets Dylan in Spanish.
Hola mi amigo.
Dylan replies, smiling.
Hola. Armando takes care of everything around here. He could use a helping hand. If you know anyone that's experienced in horse grooming and looking for work, let me know.
Dylan nods in acknowledgement. Stuart addresses Armando in Spanish.
De vuelta al trabajo.
Armando nods, walks away.
How many different languages do you speak, Stuart? More than you, I'd wager. Thirsty. After all this? Hell yeah.
His response makes Stuart laugh. We are in the living room of the ranch filled with authentic ancient Oriental decor. A massive artifact of Buddha sits in the corner. The only photos on the wall are of Stuart posing in his martial arts uniform. The guy's obviously in love with himself, geez. Dylan and Stuart are seated on the sofa chatting over a beer.
Tell me about your desire to pursue a career in Hollywood. What can I say? I want it all. Everyone in Hollywood wants it all, including myself. Seems you've already accomplished that.
Dylan takes a good hard look around the room and it makes him smile.
Man, I idolize you. I idolize me too. Tell me more about Dylan Spencer. When I was a kid, I used to stand in the mirror day and night imitating different superheroes. Cobra Man was my favorite. My mom bought me the brightest green snakeskin suit, should have seen it. Seems you really were in love with Cobra Man. My mom figured if she could convince me that I was Cobra Man, she could convince me to eat my greens, which, according to my mom, would give me supernatural strength. I kid you not, all I ate was lettuce, spinach, and broccoli day and night for 2 years straight.
Stuart pops a smile. Dylan continues.
On a serious note, much like Luke Weston, all I ever wanted to do was act.
Stuart slides back in his seat wearing a pensive expression. He replies.
Luke Weston. Highest paid actor on the planet. He's so much more than an actor. You're absolutely right. Luke's a loyalist. Know him? What I know is the business of Hollywood. Loyalty goes a long way in show business. You will soon come to learn that everyone's family out here. Jezebel tells me you've been unlucky landing roles. Been to countless auditions. No luck. Hollywood's no easy nut to crack. When Jezebel told me about the opportunity to play the part of Justin Blake, it was almost too good to be true. Justin and I are so much alike. Same age, same personality. Justin's gay, I'm gay. Every man I meet is gay when they find out I'm rich. I am gay, Stuart.
Stuart takes in Dylan's serious expression.
Is there a problem?
Smiling, Stuart replies.
Hollywood's going to adore you.
Dylan exhales, relieved to hear that.
Tomorrow night, I would like you to attend a party with me. This will provide you a chance to network with influential people. In addition, I'll make arrangements for my driver to take you to the audition this coming weekend.
Dylan replies wearing an expression of deep gratitude.
I'm going to make it in this business, Stuart. One of these fine days, I'm going to pay you back for going out on a limb for me. Talk about that later. Get yourself situated. Spare rooms upstairs, first door on your right. Jezebel's a friend. You're safe in my hands. If you will excuse me, I've business to tend to.
Stuart downs his drink, gets up, departs. Dylan's big break and aspiration to become a Hollywood star are imminent, or so it seems. He can't help but smile. The most luxurious, expensive, and grandest accommodation option a hotel has to offer, fit for a president. There seems to be gold trim around every surface in the space. The 6,000 square foot suite comes with numerous hosting spaces, a master bathroom in marble, a full-service bar with bartender, a living room with intricate fretwork and molding, and a private pool and jacuzzi. There are only Hollywood elites present, all men. Every man is well-dressed and has a sophisticated yet commanding appearance. They are conversing among themselves, drinking, and smoking cigars. The server boy, 18, in a hot pink sexy outfit, walks around the space with a tray full of champagne. From a distance, the server appears to be a lady, but up close, it's obvious that he's a man, possibly going through a transition. Stuart and Dylan enter the room looking sharp in suit and tie. The server boy comes over to them and holds out the tray. Each of Stuart and Dylan takes a champagne glass off the tray. The server shoots them a smile before strolling off. Dylan addresses Stuart.
Man, look at all these well-known people. I can't believe we're actually here.
Stuart takes in Dylan's anxious expression and replies.
Relax, Dylan. Allow me to do most of the talking.
Stuart approaches a respected, notorious Hollywood figure named Victor, 60, with Dylan in tow. Victor smiles at Stuart's presence and greets him.
Stuart, my man. Victor. How you been?
They shake hands like old friends. Victor stares at Dylan momentarily through lust-filled eyes and addresses Stuart.
I see you brought me a treat. New guy. Dylan Spencer.
Victor shoots Dylan a great smile and addresses him.
We love the new ones in Hollywood. Music, film, or TV? Film, sir, mostly. Call me Victor.
Stuart addresses Victor.
Dylan has an audition coming up with Starstruck Studios. Dylan's very ambitious. I like ambitious. Question is, how bad do you want it all, Dylan? All? Yeah, I want it all, sir. I mean Victor. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. What I'm trying to say is that I'm prepared to take advantage of any and all opportunities that come my way. All I'm looking for is a big break. Call it big break if you want. The truth is, success in Hollywood mostly depends on your network.
Victor and Stuart share a smile of mutual understanding. Victor addresses Stuart.
Mind if I have a word with Dylan in private? Most certainly. Good luck, Dylan.
Stuart walks away. Victor addresses Dylan.
You can tell me more about your ambitions in private. Right this way.
Dylan trails Victor past the throng of VIPs to the bedroom door. They enter the bedroom. The size of the room and its abundance of opulent furnishings indicate that this must be the master suite. Victor loosens his tie en route to the bed. Dylan takes a seat in the high-backed chair. Victor addresses Dylan.
Hollywood is arguably the most cutthroat industry in the world, but if you play your cards right, it can be lucrative. There are levels to this game. The more you play, the more you gain, understood? Totally.
After downing his drink, Victor removes his tie, socks, and shoes. Seated on the edge of the bed, he gives Dylan his undivided attention and speaks.
We can help each other out, Dylan. How so? The role. It's yours. I haven't auditioned yet. Be sure to attend the audition. I'm going to make sure that you secure the role. Congratulations in advance. Deep down inside, I feel like you're built for this business, Dylan.
Dylan looks pleasantly surprised. He replies,
I don't know what to say. Thank you.
Victor suddenly assumes the appearance of a predatory creature staring at its victim Dylan with an intensely perverted gaze.
Nothing in the world's free, Dylan. Thank you isn't good enough. Having said that, I'd like you to take off your pants and turn around.
Hearing those words, Dylan's stunned into silence. Deep down inside he understands what this is all about, but he asks for clarity anyway.
You mean? My pants?
Victor responds, practically drooling at the mouth like Dylan's a piece of meat.
Consider this your initiation into Hollywood's film industry. You want the role or not?
It takes a good beat for his proposition to really set in with Dylan. When he gets up and begins to take off his pants, Victor quickly approaches him and gives him a passionate kiss on the face and neck, slipping out of his own trousers in the process. We are in the audition room. Dylan stands on stage with another actor named Romeo, 25, a brown-skinned cutie. Seated in the front row, the casting director Brent and his assistant watch on. Romeo reads from the script in his hand.
Justin, I know you've been with her. You love her, don't you?
Dylan reads from the script in his hand.
If I wanted a woman, Rudy, I wouldn't be with you. I love you more than life itself.
Brent jumps in and interrupts.
It's still incorrect?
Dylan nods. Brent continues.
Justin Blake, that would be you, is madly in love with his boyfriend of 5 years. Justin's boyfriend Rudy, heard through the grapevine that his man has been banging a woman. Justin needs to convincingly defend himself. Give me that line again, only say it like your life depends on it.
Dylan clears his throat, then say the lines again.
If I wanted a woman, Rudy, I wouldn't be with you. I love you more than life itself.
A little better, but Brent's not impressed. He addresses Dylan, irritation in his voice.
I will cut to the chase. Kiss the lovely man in front of you with as much passion as possible. Can you do that for me?
Romeo stands there with a huge smile on his face that suggests he is eager to kiss Dylan. They embrace. Dylan looks slightly self-conscious as he pulls away as soon as their lips meet. He then turns and addresses Brent.
How was that?
Brent heaves a sigh, clearly disappointed in Dylan's performance. His gaze shifts to his assistant for some sort of validation. The assistant gives a sideways shake of his head. Brent proceeds to address Dylan and Romeo.
Thank you both for your time. That's a wrap.
We are at Stuart's ranch in the backyard. Dylan and Stuart are seated in patio chairs on the deck chatting and drinking beer. Dylan occasionally wiggles around in his seat as if he were experiencing hemorrhoids.
Before I forget, Elaine called. What did she say? Something about picking up the kids. Said she'll call back tomorrow.
Stuart nods in acknowledgement.
Do you still love your ex? No. But, we screw every now and then.
Dylan spits a laugh and Stuart smiles at him. He moves on to something else.
Everything work out with Victor?
Dylan responds with a grimace and a wiggle in his seat. Stuart understands.
Insist on Vaseline next time around. Tell me about the audition.
That disparaging look on Dylan's face says it all.
There will be other opportunities. Kind of hard to kiss a guy if you haven't been with one. You're gay, no. A gay virgin until I met Victor. Hang in there, Dylan. You'll get used to Hollywood's rules and regulations if only you're willing.
There's an awkward moment of silence, then Stuart speaks.
Surprise, surprise. You were given the role of Justin Blake.
Dylan nearly jumps out of his seat, shocked to hear that.
Justin Blake? I got the role. You got it? How? I screwed up the audition. Victor's a man of his word, as I am. You've got potential, Dylan. The reason why I've lined up a few more auditions for you. Couple $100,000. It's a start. Wait. Couple $100,000 per film?
The broad smile on Stuart's face says it all. Dylan begins to become excited, but then he recalls his intimate encounter with Victor that night in the hotel bedroom, which will never be forgotten. He addresses Stuart, vivid anxiety in his eyes.
What do I have to do? Same as before?
Stuart replies.
Along those lines.
Not an easy pill to swallow. Dylan clenches his teeth, then speaks.
Luxurious homes on every continent. Sports cars. Fine dining. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to own what you own. Eat what you eat. Wear what you wear. Shop where you shop.
Stuart gives him a certain look. It is the look of a man on a mission. He replies.
Do well and you will eventually receive offers of millions of dollars per film if only you abide by the rules. $1 million deals are a little different and will require you to sign a specific type of contract. When you cross that bridge, I will be sure to make myself available to answer your questions. Sky's the limit, kiddo. Question is, what sacrifices are Dylan Spencer willing to make to have it all?
Dylan takes in Stuart's determined expression. It sends a chill up his spine. Your average everyday bar. A few people are here. We barely recognize Dylan seated at a table drinking a beer. He now has blonde feathery hair, plucked eyebrows, and pierced ears, all of which give him a more feminine, GQ appearance. He is groomed so well that he could be in Gentleman's Quarterly, and so we assume Dylan's making decent money at this stage in his film career. A powerful-looking man with a bald head, outfitted in a suit, tie and trench coat sits a couple tables over from Dylan, a leather briefcase at his feet. His name is Chase, 40. Feeling Dylan's gaze on him, he looks up and smiles at him. When Dylan smiles back at him, he takes his beer from the table and approaches Dylan's table. Dude's huge. Looking slightly intimidated, Dylan stares up at all 6 feet 5 inches of him. Chase addresses Dylan.
Seats taken.
He says this to Dylan good-humoredly, then takes a seat at the table. A voluptuous lady in tight jeans walks by. Chase spins around to look at her fat ass and comments on it to break the ice.
Baby got back. Beautiful she is.
He looks back to Dylan, who's smiling, sort of. Chase addresses Dylan.
You're clearly from around here. Been living in LA for a while. Name's Chase. Dylan Spencer. Buy you a beer? Go for it. Only thing better than beer on Friday night is sex on Saturday morning.
Dylan shifts in his seat, a little uneasy with that remark. Chase raises a hand and signals the server. Dylan begins to study him.
What kind of work you do? Headhunting. Recruiter in a Rolex. That's a first.
Bling 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 sums up to the Rolex on Chase's wrist. The waiter, a drag queen, steps up to the table sporting a friendly smile.
What can I get you boys? Scotch on the rocks. Same.
The waiter nods, struts away. Chase addresses Dylan.
You're an actor. I work. I hear you wanna play with Hollywood's big boys. I'm here to help.
Dylan stares at Chase, curiosity in his gaze. Chase continues.
Stewart's with me. Jezebel's with me. Hell, 90% of Hollywood's with me. We doing business or not? Not if you're a part of the Illuminati.
He spits a laugh after he says this to Chase. Chase replies.
Illuminati? Nah son. Something much greater than the Illuminati has taken over Hollywood. The Illuminati had too many middlemen. Why call the priest if you can get on a call with the Pope? Know what I mean? Less middlemen means more power for everyone involved. Less middlemen also means that my boss will soon be appearing everywhere and conquering far more than just Hollywood. My boss possesses real power and a real government. Wait. Hollywood has its own government?
Chase only smirks at Dylan's naivety. The waiter arrives and unloads the drinks onto the table, then struts away. Chase takes a few large gulps of his beer, then continues.
Here's the deal, Dylan. My organization has been watching you for some time. FYI, loved your performance in the film, Boys Only. I'll get right to the point. My boss thinks you're a great actor and would like to extend an offer to you.
Reaching into his briefcase, Chase takes out a piece of paper and moves it across the table. Dylan picks up the paper and looks it over. His eyes go wide when he sees the dollar amount in the contract.
$3 million per film. So long as you maintain your status, you'll move up and quickly. Moving up equals more money per film. You with me? Maintain my status? In other words, do what you're told, business-wise. The contract's a little different from the others you've signed. Take your time and read it over. Same conditions apply for everyone. I got business. Be well.
After standing up, he removes a pill container from his pocket and places it on the table in front of Dylan and speaks.
Best poppers in the world. My treat.
He departs. Placing the pill container into his pocket, Dylan begins to read over the contract in greater detail. We are at Stewart's ranch inside Dylan's bedroom. After carefully reviewing the contract in detail, Dylan finds himself mentally struggling with its terms and conditions. It is the reason why he's unable to fall asleep. As he continues to toss and turn in bed, we turn our attention to the contract laying on the end table. These are the words that both scream out at us and gnaw at Dylan's brain: the artist, whole person, mandatory, fetish, no religion, ownership, non-disclosure, property thereof, sacrifice, rituals. Sitting up, Dylan takes out the pill container from the end table. After removing the lid, he takes a few tablets, puts them in his mouth, puts the container back, and then he lay down again. As he starts to nod off, his heart abruptly stops beating and he passes away. We are inside the king's dome. Zoria is seated at the table silently reading the big book. Feeling the presence of a soul, he puts the big book down onto the table, then extends a cordial smile and welcomes Dylan here.
Grace be to you and peace from God our Father and from the Lord Jesus Christ. I've been awaiting your arrival, Dylan.
Dylan looks down at his transparent body. Clothed in a baffled expression, he looks to Zoria and speaks.
Wait. Where am I? You ingested one too many poppers. As a result, you've passed away and have arrived at the King's Dome, a world between worlds. Please, have a seat.
Dylan walks over to the table and takes a seat. After which, Zoria gets down to business.
I have a message for you, Dylan. A message from God. First, you are required to be still and listen.
Dylan quietly watches on as Zoria opens the big book and begins to read relevant portions of his life history.
Dylan Spencer. Your father William worked in military operations for 40 years, leaving your mother with the sole responsibility of raising you on her own. William threw you out of the house when he discovered that you were a homosexual. Living on your own, you held down 2 jobs to support yourself. Keeping up with the Joneses was and still is very important to you. In 2018, you maxed out a $30,000 credit card, living large in fancy hotels and spending money on anything your heart desired. You've made $730,250 thus far in your cinematic career. Your number one goal in life is to become rich, a billionaire in actuality. You're envious of the world's celebrities. The belongings of rich people you covet.
Zoria has finished reading. He lay the big book down onto the table. Dylan begins to study him.
Wait. Are you God? I am Zoria, a messenger sent from God. A curse would have been placed on your life if you had accepted the contract that Chase offered you. Hollywood would have controlled and exploited you, keeping you from discovering the real you and realizing the mission that the Creator, Jesus Christ, intended for you to serve on this planet. Your unrepentant sin would have caused your premature and untimely death on earth, which would have set you up for your second death, which takes place in hell.
With a somewhat perplexed look, Dylan speaks.
Hell? Wow. Because I want a better life for myself?
He follows Zorya's gaze to a movie playing on the wall where a group of people are eating in an elegant restaurant. We can tell that the people in the movie are wealthy because of their gorgeous outfits and diamonds. The film ends and is replaced with a fresh one that shows the same wealthy people bound at the hands and feet, their faces shot with pain and despair, their bodies twisted and broken from the torture they've endured. Walking sluggishly through a vast plain moist with a wisp of fog, the ground below them is a mixture of jagged molten rocks glowing with a hellish light. At the head of the pack guiding the people into an area of blazing fire and darkness, visible up the path, is an enormous winged creature hideous beyond words. A second winged creature, similar to the first, is seen smacking some of the people around and hollering at them. The sight is a terrifying one. Zorya explains to Dylan who the people are and what he is witnessing.
Hollywood's finest. When they died, their money and material wealth remained in the earth. The same people died broke, without true riches, which can be found and obtained in Jesus Christ.
Dylan says nothing, only stares at Zorya, fear in his gaze. He follows Zorya's gaze back to the wall where a new movie begins to play of a lady cooking over the stove in apron, her hair tied up in a bun. We can tell that the lady is impoverished by looking at her little rundown kitchen. Laying on the kitchen table is the Holy Bible. The movie fades away and a new movie begins to play, boasting the glorious hillside of heaven with rainbow-colored skies and acres of luscious green landscape. The only house in this section of heaven is a huge gorgeous mansion made entirely of glass crystal. Parked in the gold-paved driveway are a couple of eye-popping flying vehicles straight out of the Jetsons television show. We make our way inside the home where the beauty continues. The glory of heaven lights up the house in divine perfection, starting from the floor and going all the way up through the sky roof. Walls of precious stones, flooring of marble, crystal ornaments, and living plants are everywhere. The owner of the house and land is the same improvised lady. There she is curled up on the sofa, soft as silk, reading a book. Her entire being is filled with contentment and tranquility, as seen by the sparkle in her eyes and the smile on her lips. The movie fades away and comes to an end. Zorya explains to Dylan who the lady is and what he just witnessed.
Her name is Valerie Bernstein, a lady who gave up her life and served God with all of her heart and soul during her time on earth. After she passed away, her awesome life in Jesus Christ was revealed and she was rewarded with true riches in heaven, for it is written, "Everyone who has left brothers or sisters, mothers or fathers, children or land for my name's sake, will receive 100-fold and inherit eternal life."
Dylan sits quietly thinking about everything Zorya has said. Zorya continues.
99% of those in Hollywood's entertainment industry are cursed. 99% of them will die and go to hell, unless they turn from their sin and leave Hollywood, for it is written, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world."
Dylan replies, looking baffled and surprised.
99%? That can't be right.
Dylan follows Zorya's gaze to the wall. A movie begins to play, showing a massive lake of raging fire in hell brimming with human souls. Even though it's really dark and smoky here, we can still identify some of the superstars because they appear as shadows of themselves. Celebrities that are visible in the lake of fire are M. Jackson, L. Crooks, P. Nelson, R. Phoenix, H. Ledger, W. Houston, C. Williams, A. Howan, Queen Alexandria, A. Winehouse, J. Belushi, R. James, A. Warhol, J. Lennon, K. Bryant, E. Presley, and M. Monroe. Dylan's face is a map of devastation. The movie on the wall ends. Right then a good-sized book materializes on the table in front of Dylan. Zorya beckons Dylan to pick the book. He does so. His eyes immediately go the words inscribed on the front cover of the book, which reads, Book of Hell and Death. Zoria explains.
Many of the celebrities you look up to are still alive today, yet their souls are in hell, which is where they will go after they die unless they turn from their sins of materialism, greed, fame, and fortune.
Dylan opens the book and starts to read. There are far too many names recorded in the Book of Death to count, but certain celebrity names flash before our eyes as Dylan scans the names. R. Giuliani, O. Winfrey, Team Basigo, G. Knowles, A. Emanuel, E. Musk, P. Gilmore, C. Baker, R. Aram, C. Davis, L. Grange, B. Iger, D. Trump, L. Graham, B. Dylan, V. Putin, H. Stern, B. Netanyahu, A. Lukashenko, D. Owens, R. D. M. Carter, J. R. Kelly, D. Hooper, B. Al-Assad, V. McMahon, T. Perry, J. S. Bodiak, J. Depp, M. Hill, B. Seferis, S. Smith, A. Kutcher, K. Petras, C. Broadus Jr., J. Hetfield, J. Nicholson, R. Fenty, M. Green, J. Kushner, J. Bieber, W. Smith, J. Pinkett, I. Aliyev, German Otta, E. Wright, R. Ritchie, D. White, R. Charles, A. Cooper, V. McCants, S. Combs, S. Hannity, S. Carter, O. Mirage, S. Bodiak, M. Ciccone, K. Jong-un, T. Swift, T. D. Jakes, J. Meyer, J. Austin, C. Brownie, E. DeGeneres, D. Lemon, R. Ross, K. Perry, D. Zaslav, E. John, P. Malone, S. Stallone, J. T. Carter, Kardashian, A. Grander, J. Money, M. Cyrus, K. Jenner, L. Farrakhan, K. Hart, N. Tyson, M. Freeman, M. Zuckerberg, B. Pitt, J. Moore, B. Gates, A. Dershowitz, E. Macron, B. Macron, Luke Weston, A. Graham, C. George, C. Ronaldo, D. Chopra, R. Mugabe, I. Afwerki, O. al-Bashir, Weinstein, Murdoch, D. Seaway, A. F. Elzes, M. B. Salman, W. Goldberg, J. Rogan, P. Hilton. Dylan has finished reading. That hit home. Placing the book down onto the table, he looks to Zoria through horror-struck eyes and speaks.
What's Luke Weston's name doing in the book? The guy's a devout Christian. So it seemed. Like many of the other so-called Christians of the world, Luke Weston honors God with his lips, but his heart is far from Almighty God.
Zoria pauses and gives Dylan an opportunity to ask questions. He doesn't only sits musing. Zoria continues by outlining Satan's plan for humanity to Dylan.
Satan has been mimicking the Creator's actions ever since the Word became flesh. The devil makes every effort to undo everything that Jesus Christ has accomplished and is destined to do. Satan's primary objective on earth is to institute a new world order and replace Christ as Israel's king. You might be asking how Satan intends to pull this off, and I shall explain. Hollywood and the World Bank, two major financial institutions controlled by Satan, have long been covered sponsors of wars in Israel. The aim is Israel's survival. As long as Israel is a thriving state, there is no need for the Lord Jesus Christ to make a second appearance on earth. Satan has persuaded himself that he can prevent the return of Jesus Christ altogether since, in his own warped logic, he has been successful thus far in postponing it due to man's refusal to repent. If Christ doesn't return, the Bible turns into a fraud, God is debunked, and Satan accomplishes his goal and wins the respect of humans. The consequence will be the subjugation of the entire human species to the devil and the New World Order, backed by the Catholic Church and centered in Israel with Satan as its king. Additionally, Islam, a false religion, will be the universal faith of all those embraced under the new global authority. I tell you the truth, Dylan. Anyone who has a direct or indirect connection to Hollywood supports Satan's goal to rule over all of creation and establish himself as king of Israel. Aspiring to become a Hollywood celebrity is the last thing anyone should want.
He pauses and gives Dylan an opportunity to reply. He only stares at Zoria, fear in his gaze.
I tell you the truth, Dylan. The world's celebrities, many of whom you look up to, have provoked jealousy in the one true God. He will punish them severely, lest they turn from their sin of participating in demon-inspired propaganda, music, and movies which have led millions of people to damnation. The world needs to understand and accept that the Lord Jesus Christ, Creator of the heavens and earth and everything in them, is not prepared to share his glory with anyone, including the celebrities of the world.
Off those words, a boom of thunder rings out and Dylan jumps, his eyes bulging in fear. Zoria continues.
I tell you the truth, Dylan. At this moment, you should be in hell. When you died on earth, God in his great mercy redirected you here to the King's Dome to offer you a second chance at life. A chance to discover the meaning of true life. Change doesn't come easy. You're going to require a helper. Blessed is the man who receives the gift of the Holy Spirit.
Off those words, a flame jumps off the lampstand and goes whump into Dylan's body, baptizing him with the Holy Spirit. Then, the dome grows dark. Thunder roars. The dome rumbles violently. Just as suddenly, the dome goes quiet, everything comes to a standstill. All at once, a light beautiful and soft enters into Dylan. His face begins to glow with the most beautiful fluorescent colored light we've ever seen. As the love of God penetrates his soul, the great Redeemer, Jesus Christ, speaks to him.
Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Follow me, and I will give you true riches in heaven. I am thy shield, and thy exceeding great reward. The Lord Jesus Christ has spoken.
A lion's roar rings out. It's over. Dylan comes back to the real world. Infused with the pure, infinite love of God, he takes his head in his hands wondering what in the world just struck him. Zoria carries on with business.
You will only remember what is relevant. The Spirit of truth is with you and will guide you into all things true. A final word of wisdom. Repent and live. In the day you return to this place, you shall die.
Off those words, Dylan dematerializes. We are at Stuart's ranch inside Dylan's bedroom. Dylan is lying on his back in bed, going over the contract again. The artist. In exchange for all your dealings including your whole person, he mumbles that part to himself unable to grasp the full meaning. Stuart walks into the doorway and addresses Dylan.
Morning. Armando made his special big breakfast. Hope you're hungry.
Dylan's got other things on his mind right now.
I need your help.
He extends his hand with the contract. Stuart approaches the bed, removes the contract from Dylan's grasp and quickly scans over it. Handing the contract back to Dylan, Stuart speaks.
What are your concerns? The part that says your whole person? The contract speaks for itself.
Dylan just stares at him. Realizing his ignorance, Stuart clarifies the specifics of the contract's provisions that Dylan is unable to comprehend.
No secrets here. In order to have it all, you have to give it all up. Dylan, this is the big break you have been longing for. When you initially began working in Hollywood, I explained to you that million-dollar deals would necessitate a significant sacrifice.
The King's Dome flashes inside Dylan's mind, a sign of caution. Right then, Dylan has a revelation and realizes the true meaning behind, give it all up.
Give it all up, as in sell my soul? What's the problem?
Dylan quietly stares at Stuart, uncertain how to respond. This Hollywood gig is going to take a little convincing. Stuart pauses to consider how to best explain things to Dylan. He comes up with something.
Imagine Hollywood as an upscale car dealership full with high-end vehicles. The artists are the vehicles on the lot. A client arrives at the lot and takes a test drive in a vehicle of their choice. Think of the test drive as a film audition. Everyone benefits if the customer leases the vehicle and returns it when they're done with it, provided they like it after the test drive. Vehicles that are troublesome, unreliable, or unusable are eventually destroyed or replaced by the owner, the dealership. All that matters to the dealership at the end of the day is how much money it makes off its leased vehicles. Love it or hate it, that is how the business works. Cash is king in Hollywood, Dylan. As long as you're making money for the dealership and playing by the rules, and you will be just fine.
Dylan replies with hesitancy. Something doesn't feel quite right.
Anything else I should know about Hollywood, Stuart? The fine print in the contract contains a bunch of stuff about religion, which is not permitted in Hollywood, by the way, unless it acknowledges Hollywood's own deity. Make sure you read and understand it. Last thing Hollywood needs right now are a bunch of whiny Christian wannabes claiming they didn't know any better.
Dylan ponders that. Sensing his reluctancy, Stuart carries on in a convincing manner.
God is no longer in charge of the world, Dylan. The Bible you've stashed under the mattress attests to it. I'm selling the house in a few weeks, moving to Europe. I've kept you under my wing for 3 years and done all I could to help you. Opportunity knocks. My advice, open the door.
Stuart departs. Dylan looks to the contract in his hand and begins to read over it some more. The bar is packed with regulars. Michael trips and falls in front of the table where his assignment Dylan is seated. Dylan jumps to help and addresses him in a friendly tone.
One too many beer, perhaps?
He assists Michael to his feet. Michael thanks him.
Appreciated. A lot on my mind lately.
They take a seat at the table. Dylan introduces himself.
Dylan Spencer, the actor. Hopefully the next big thing. Nice to meet a friendly soul. Not many around here. I'm Michael.
Dylan takes in Michael's hippie-ish apparel, then laughs.
You're obviously not from around here. Obviously. Where are you from originally?
Dylan sips his beer, then replies.
East Coast. Moved out here to pursue my dream. Got my big break after 3 long years of hard work. I got airs. I just signed with a private film and TV firm. We're talking big money per film. 7 figures.
Michael stares at him, heart pounding.
Did you accept any money? Not yet. Tomorrow night, I'm meeting with the general manager to seal the deal.
Michael cuts right to the chase, doing his best to mask his nervousness over Dylan's appointment the next day.
Hollywood's a scam, Dylan. Fame and fortune isn't what it seems out here. Opt out of the contract and don't take any money. Wait. Why do you care? Long story short. A dear friend suffered greatly at the hands of Hollywood. Relax. You're looking at Hollywood's next biggest star. The role of Hollywood's next biggest star has been taken by Luke Weston, of course. Not by Luke Weston. The devil himself is Hollywood's biggest star. Satan uses Hollywood celebrities as a pawn to boost his own star power. Up-and-comers as yourself are merely being groomed to replace celebrities that come to their senses and expose Hollywood's lies. That's the truth.
Dylan starts to study Michael. Snickering, he replies.
You're not a church pastor, that's obvious. You look more like a hippie. I want to know why you're sitting here preaching to me.
Michael's expression grows dead serious. He replies.
If you take money from these people, there's no turning back.
Dylan continues to stare at Michael until a bright light flashes inside his mind, a sign of caution. That shakes him so much that he jumps and gasps, knocking over his beer. Michael continues to stare at him, deeply worried. We are in Chase's cramped and disorganized office. Dylan's seated across the desk from Chase, who's smiling from ear to ear.
Congratulations, Dylan. You seem to be making all the right moves.
He slides the check across the table toward Dylan and continues to speak.
$3 million, as stated in the contract.
Dylan won't even look at the check. He's had a change of heart. His tone and expression are serious.
Came here to tell you I want out. What are you talking about? I'm out. Keep your money. You signed the contract, Dylan. Take the check.
Dylan takes the check and tears it in two, and then he speaks.
I'm out.
Chase pounds the desk in anger.
I work on commission, asshole. So, when you signed the contract, I got paid. What in the hell am I supposed to tell my boss?
Ignoring that, Dylan gets to his feet before walking out of the office, leaving Chase behind, fuming. Dylan drives along the main road. When the light turns red, he pulls up and glances left to see Chase in his Mercedes-Benz glaring at him and mouthing the words, "You're dead." Terrified, Dylan rips violently through the red light with a screech of tires. To avoid smashing into Dylan's car, two cars moving in opposite directions swerve out of control and collide at the intersection. Dylan's eyes flick nervously from the road in front of him to the rear-view mirror, where he sees the Mercedes-Benz quickly gaining ground. Dylan swings the wheel wildly, his car takes a screaming turn onto another street. Both cars weave in and out of traffic, tearing through red lights, barely avoiding a collision, and now both cars are speeding toward the freeway with the Mercedes-Benz hot on Dylan's tail. Dylan tries to lose the Mercedes-Benz in the pursuit by accelerating to 150 miles per hour as he approaches the freeway ramp. Due to its superior speed, the Mercedes-Benz overtakes Dylan's car and rams it from behind. Both cars tear down the freeway, weaving in and out of traffic with the Mercedes-Benz hot on Dylan's tail. In a desperate attempt to lose the Mercedes-Benz, Dylan slams on the brakes. Screeching tires heard. He makes a sudden U-turn and drives like a madman into oncoming traffic to an outpouring of swerving vehicles and honking horns. Dylan looks into the rear-view mirror and sees the Mercedes-Benz quickly gaining ground. In danger of losing Dylan, Chase puts the gas pedal to the floor. He's in a deranged state of mind right about now, looking like a man possessed.
Come to daddy.
Chase mumbles that to himself, swerving wildly around oncoming vehicles, barely escaping several head-on collisions. Then, God shows up in Dylan's defense. There is a bright white flash. Chase raises a hand to block the blinding light, but as it gets stronger, he is unable to operate the automobile and is overpowered by it. A big rig skids out of control and slams the Mercedes-Benz up against the guardrail, crushing it there. Chase is hunched down in the wrecked Mercedes-Benz, barely awake, his face smeared in blood. The Mercedes-Benz begins to leak gasoline. Seeing this, the big rig driver jumps out of the cabin and runs for his life up the freeway shoulder to safety. A cigarette butt comes flying out of a moving vehicle, lands in the gas leak, and the Mercedes-Benz explodes with a loud whump, sending flaming debris up and out 200 feet. Visibly shaken, Dylan sits in his car parked on the freeway shoulder. He looks in the rear-view mirror and sees the Mercedes-Benz engulfed in flames. With a trembling hand, he reaches into the glove department box. The Holy Bible falls out onto the floor mat. Staring intensely at the Holy Bible invokes a divine revelation within Dylan. He understands that God saved him. He gets emotional and starts to cry happy tears. We are at a men's shelter. Men representing different ethnic groups are eating lunch at several tables. Dylan, by himself, is seated at a table and appears tense. He's new to this place. With a lunch plate in hand, a somewhat obese middle-aged man named Pete approaches Dylan's table and speaks.
Mind if I sit here? Free world.
Pete sits, starts for his lunch. He casts a sidelong peek at Dylan's tray of unfinished food, then speaks.
Sick or something? Not that hungry. You mind?
He wants Dylan's food.
Help yourself.
Pete extends his hand to take the sandwich and pear off of Dylan's tray, then goes back to eating his food. Following a solid beat, he turns to face Dylan and starts to study him.
Know that face from somewhere.
Pointing to himself, Dylan replies.
My face?
It hits Pete.
Saw you in that movie. What's the name of it again? Talking Strangers. City Under Fire? Boys Only? That's the one, Boys Only. Queer flick. Them two guys robbed you.
Hearing that, a guy named Teddy, 40, seated at a nearby table eating, snickers. Some people just look like bad news. That's Teddy. Dylan smiles, remembering his role in the film, Boys Only. He addresses Pete.
Done with acting. Heard a lot of negative things about Hollywood. Quitting the film industry would not be entirely unwise. No more Lamborghinis and orgies.
He asks Dylan this clothed in a smart aleck expression. Dylan calmly looks to him. Teddy continues.
How many broads did you manage to bang out in Hollywood? Just curious.
Dylan says nothing, only looks away, eager to escape the conversation. Pete addresses Dylan.
Meet anyone really famous like Robert De Niro? Love that guy.
Teddy won't let up on Dylan.
How many broads did you bang? I wanna know.
Dylan grinds his jaw and taps his foot. This is becoming irritating. Avoiding eye contact with Teddy, he replies.
I didn't bang any women. Ha ha ha, there we go. How many men did you bang?
Pete drops his fork, clearly perturbed at that question. Pete addresses Teddy.
You're such a loser.
Teddy replies.
From Hollywood to a homeless shelter, I'm not the loser.
Those words rip through Dylan's soul like a cancer. He would be dead if words had the power to kill. Losing all self-control, Dylan throws himself at Teddy, tumbling him to the ground. Teddy's obviously not appreciated around here because the other men sit back and watch on as Dylan pounds him to death with his fists. A staff member runs into the frame. Enough, he shouts, as he peels Dylan off Teddy. Quite the ass whooping. Teddy's busted up pretty good. The staff member firmly addresses both Dylan and Teddy.
You both know the rules. Fighting's not permitted. I will have to ask you both to leave the shelter.
Teddy's slow to get to his feet. He courageously looks Dylan in the eyes and speaks, a mile-wide smirk on his face.
I'll be back. They always take me back. Besides, this shelter's for men, not faggots.
Dylan, still enraged but controlling himself, watches Teddy leave. Dylan walks along the sidewalk, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. He approaches a man who is waiting for the bus at the bus stop.
Excuse me, sir. Happen to have any spare change?
The man shakes his head no. Dylan steps over to a guy smoking a cigarette, chatting on his cell, waiting for the bus.
Excuse me, sir. Happen to have any change? Anything at all would help.
The guy gives Dylan a pitiful look, then turns his back to him. Dylan sighs as he sets the duffel bag down and begins to process the situation. He notices the abrupt movement of something in the sky. Raising his head, he notices a bright star staring down at him. The star shines brighter the longer he stares at it. It's a warm closeness that finally makes Dylan close his eyes and let out a leisurely breath. Opening his eyes, to Dylan's dismay, the bright star is gone. How long have you been waiting for the bus? Jezebel's voice rings familiar and Dylan turns to look at her. Saying goodbye to the woman she was speaking to, she steps over to Dylan and immediately does a double take. She addresses him. Dude, you look like a totally different person. What's up with the new look? She smiles as she asks him this. Dylan replies.
Hollywood insisted. A more feminine appearance was supposed to help boost my career. Yesterday's news.
No luck in Hollywood? Feeling doomed by failure, he drops his head in shame and replies.
Met some great people. Lived a little. No complaints.
Cheer up. You're on the right path. He meets her sympathetic gaze.
Not sure about that anymore, Jezebel.
What's been happening with you? He looks away, wondering whether or not he should go there. Looking back to Jezebel, he speaks.
Hollywood's not what I thought. Satanist all over the place.
The devil is everywhere, you're right. Doesn't mean that we have to walk away from the things in life that bring us joy and happiness. He drifts back in his thoughts, remembering Hollywood. It gives him an eerie feeling. She stares at him momentarily, wondering how much he has discovered about the world of darkness. The difference between a broke actor and a rich actor is persistence. He rubs his forehead and yawns. Her expression folds into one of sympathy. You look exhausted. You're welcome at my place. Small, but cozy.
Thanks, but I kind of need to be alone.
I genuinely feel sorry for you. She reaches into her purse, removes some cash. It's not much. Grateful, he smiles and accepts the money from her hand, and then he speaks.
Means a whole lot, Jezebel.
Luke Weston lived on the street for months before he made it.
I didn't know that.
True story. Life is full of highs and lows. Don't let whatever happened in Hollywood get you down. You're destined for greatness, Dylan. Repeat after me. I was born to act. Playing along, Dylan smiles and repeats her words.
I was born to act.
Good. I have faith in you. You deserve to be back in the spotlight. I'm prepared to go above and beyond to make it happen. The bus pulls up. Jezebel continues. You have my number. Reach out to me when you're ready to start making money again. Keep your head up.
Thanks for the talk, Jezebel.
Waving goodbye with his hand, Dylan starts up the street. Jezebel waves back, then enters the bus, an evil smirk upon her face. The cunning plan is to entice Dylan to return to Hollywood and accept a life-ending contract. Will Jezebel succeed? Let's find out. We are at the department store. Dylan stands next to a bunch of camping stuff laying on the counter. The cashier rings up the bill, then addresses Dylan. $104.73. Dylan replies.
Forget the water bottle. I only have $100. I got it.
Dylan swivels his head around to Michael standing behind him in line. He does a double take. Michael looks familiar.
Mark. It's Michael. The hippie. Hollywood hippie. That would be me. You haven't changed. I mean the hippie part.
Referring to Michael's striped V-neck shirt and baggy trouser, psychedelic in color. Michael pays the cashier and Dylan thanks him. The cashier bags up Dylan's stuff. He takes the bag, then waits for Michael to pay for his own items. After which, they walk toward the exit together.
Are you visiting? Wouldn't say that. Where are you headed? Beats me. I know the perfect place. Feel free to tag along.
They pass through the exit doors. A magnificent sunset with hues of red, orange, and pink streaked across the evening sky. We are on the outskirts of a forest. Hundreds of acres of land stretch far and wide. Standing on a path that leads to a little settlement of huts is Michael with Dylan. Villagers are everywhere, men, women and children. Every nationality is represented and everyone dresses hippie-ish. Plenty barbecuing going on over an open fire. Children dart around playing. People can be seen fishing in the distance while others are standing nearby fellowshipping in small groups. The entire village exudes contentment and tranquility. Michael addresses Dylan standing next to him.
The perfect place to pitch your tent. Stay as long as you need.
Dylan takes in his surroundings. A tiny smile appears on his lips as he feels at ease and content.
This is great, Michael. Nature at its best.
Michael steps into Dylan for a chat.
Tell me about Hollywood. Thought you'd never ask.
He smiles, but then his smile fades when he takes in the serious expression on Michael's face.
Hollywood is Hollywood, Michael. What else can I say?
Michael just stares at him, curious to find out more about Dylan's Hollywood adventures. Dylan continues.
I selfishly found myself chasing after a dream larger than life. Nothing else mattered. I used to envision myself boasting about my accomplishments to anyone and everyone.
Michael responds by citing the Bible.
Let he who boasts, boast in this: that he knows God.
Something about the way that came out causes Dylan to stare at Michael. He replies.
Hollywood wasn't what I expected, that's for sure. Hollywood. Land of Satanism. How can you be so sure that the devil has a kingdom on earth? Just curious. Where's the visual proof? God is light, Dylan. Anyone who lives in the light sees the truth.
A bright light flashes inside Dylan's mind, a sign from God. He blinks, rattled by that. Then, the voice of Jesus Christ plays inside Dylan's inner consciousness.
You've been called to a higher consciousness.
Michael proceeds to elaborate on Jesus's words, "You've been called to a higher consciousness."
There is a higher consciousness for each of us, Dylan. It is a consciousness of spirit. It's important that we connect with the Creator through prayer and fasting to be awakened. After the spirit of a man is awakened, his true purpose in life is revealed. I can't think of a better place to find one's calling.
Michael punctuates the latter with a smile. Here's Jesus Christ once again speaking inside Dylan's inner consciousness.
I am thy shield, and thy exceedingly great reward.
Dylan quietly stares at Michael, curiosity in his gaze.
We should set up your tent. I'll show you where.
They set off down the pathway together. It's a bright and sunny day. Dylan sits on the ground outside his tent eating an apple, observing his surroundings. Michael sits next to him doing much the same. We see children run about playing tag. We also see men and women of different nationalities are talking, meditating, gardening, and cooking over an open fire. Dylan addresses Michael.
Not much to do around here, but it is peaceful. Looks can be deceiving. This community possesses more wealth than everyone in Hollywood combined.
A vision of the impoverished lady curled up on the sofa soft as silk, reading a book in her house in heaven, flashes inside Dylan's mind, as a reminder. Michael continues on his point.
Freedom. Dignity. Peace of mind. Mad love for another. Life the way God intended. Everyone here coexists in harmony and interdependency.
Dylan follows Michael's gaze to a group of kids miming. This makes Dylan smile. Rising to his feet, he begins to mime, conveying the impression of climbing a wall. The kids see this and giggle amongst themselves. Michael quietly considers Dylan. He's coming along. Albeit, there's more to learn. Dylan sits back down, then addresses Michael.
How do you guys make money around here? We live in a money-free system. Around here, we labor for love, not money. In what sense is that possible? The farmer farms, the builder builds, but not to gain, to give. Many members of the community are from low-income backgrounds, while some are wealthy. At the end of the day, we give the community everything we have and utilize one another's abilities to prosper one another. Mother Earth provides for us as well.
Michael gets to his feet, then waves to a lady passing by. Smiling, she waves back. Michael addresses Dylan.
Come with me.
Dylan rises to his feet. Walking along, one of the kids high-fives Dylan for such a wonderful mime. Michael speaks on the topic of Mother Earth.
What do you think would happen, Dylan, if cells inside the human body stopped working together?
Michael answers his own question.
The body would eventually shut down. Much like humans, Mother Earth's a living, breathing organism. Humans are cells within Mother Earth. Everything humans do, good, bad or ugly, Mother Earth is affected. Around here, Mother Earth responds in a positive light by bringing forth everything that we need. It's because our community is full of love and peace.
Michael and Dylan arrive at a field of fruit-bearing trees. Michael stretches forth a hand and removes an apple from a tree, then hands the apple to Dylan. Dylan's eyes widen. He's never seen an apple so big and juicy red in his life, neither have we. Michael explains.
In addition to being healthier, the fruits and vegetables in this community grow larger and more quickly than in communities festering with sin.
Michael squats down and removes a patch of grass, exposing soil underneath. Dylan bends over and takes a look at the soiled ground pulsating like a heart inside the human body. Dylan's visibly shocked to witness this. Michael explains.
Mother Earth's heartbeat is a sign that she's at peace.
Michael rises, then leads Dylan over to a ravine of crystal clear waters. A school of deep-sea fish swim by. Dylan does a double take, then speaks.
Deep-sea fish in a ravine? Mother Earth directs various fish for food up these waters. As you can see, we have everything we need here. The Creator never ceases to love His children.
Michael faces Dylan for a serious chat.
There are people who desire more than enough in life. For example, a nice house or car. God doesn't have a problem with that. But, if you find yourself chasing after money, it's time to reevaluate your priorities. I still want a lot more than a nice house and car, being honest.
Michael tells a parable to help Dylan understand the point he's trying to make.
There was a man who loved food, nearly ate himself to death. To save his life, surgery was performed to shrink his stomach. The man was required to drink fluids and abstain from eating food altogether following surgery. As time went on, the doctor warned the man that while he may eat some foods in moderation, he could lose his life if he went back to his old eating habits.
Michael explains the parable.
Individuals who idolize the world are required to relinquish any and all attachment to it, God says so. A person can only moderately pursue finer things in life after having their eyes opened to the reality, always being mindful of the serious risks associated with overindulgence. Inside
Dylan's mind, we flash back to wealthy people bound at the hands and feet, dressed in soiled, torn-up rags. At the head of the pack, guiding the people into an area of blazing fire and absolute darkness, visible up the path, is an enormous winged creature hideous beyond words with a pointed horn in the center of his forehead. End of flashback. Michael continues.
Dylan, God loves you so much. God wants his children to experience true riches in him, not in this materialistic world, a world that doesn't know or care about God. If you're going to idolize someone, idolize the one who died for you. Make Jesus Christ your superstar.
Just then, Jesus Christ speaks inside Dylan's inner consciousness.
I am thy shield, and thy exceedingly great reward.
Michael continues on, speaking passionately from the heart.
The riches of heaven far exceed the riches of the world. By living in you and giving you the ability to love and enjoy the things he has created, and to love and enjoy a perfect companion in himself, God is your great reward. Not the world. God himself. Dylan. He's all yours if you want him. You can find me on the other side of the river if you need anything else.
Michael departs. Just then, Dylan's cell phone rings. Reaching into his pocket, he removes his cell and answers.
It's Dylan.
Jezebel's the caller. Good news. Casting call for a TV pilot. I pulled a few strings and managed to land you an audition. A hesitant reply from Dylan. The call from Jezebel took him off guard.
I'm a film guy, you know that.
Acting is acting. Besides, you're in no position to be picky. You have absolutely nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Can I get back to you?
The audition's tomorrow. Don't keep me waiting. Dylan hits a button to disconnect the call. He stands musing, seriously contemplating Jezebel's proposition. We are in the audition room. Jezebel sits alongside the casting director Phil. Dylan walks out onto the stage looking a little unsure of himself, a movie script in his hand. Jezebel gives Dylan a thumbs up, then addresses Phil. That's my guy. Phil grimaces at Dylan's grubby appearance. Sure, Dylan's a tad messy, but then again he lives in a tent. Phil addresses Jezebel.
Where did you find him? In the garbage can.
He then hollers out instructions to Dylan.
From the top, please.
As Dylan begins to read the script, the King's Dome flashes inside his mind, flash flash flash. He pauses, doing his best to shake off the overwhelming feeling of conviction he feels inside his heart. A look of concern crosses Jezebel's face. Pull it together, Dylan, she mumbles that to herself. Phil addresses Dylan.
Anybody home?
Dylan takes a beat, then replies.
Wait. Can we start over?
Phil replies.
We haven't started yet.
He gives Jezebel a certain look. What's wrong with your guy? She addresses Phil. Probably nerves.
Nerves don't pay the bills. This session's costing me an arm and a leg.
He firmly addresses Dylan.
I'd like to move things along.
Dylan exhales, his nerves calming. Then, he begins to read the script.
Listen, pal, it's my way or the highway. Why don't you?
From Dylan's point of view, a white bright light overtakes the room, then quickly vanishes. Dylan's knees buckle. Lightheadedness causes his body to sway, giving the impression that he is going to pass out. We can tell by the twisted look on Phil's face that he's fed up. He addresses Jezebel.
Get the kid off the stage. Give him some Valium while you're at it.
Clearly enraged, Jezebel stands up, makes her way onto the stage and confronts Dylan. Her tone is forbidding. "Congratulations, Dylan, you just blew an opportunity of a lifetime.
I should go."
Jezebel becomes increasingly upset. Her voice is raised. "What in the world's going on with you?"
"Look, Jezebel. I'm not the same person I was when we first met. Acting doesn't feel right anymore.
After everything I did for you, the least you could do was put in a little effort."
I did my best. Thanks for the opportunity."
Realizing that she's fighting a losing battle, Jezebel becomes even more furious and rips off her face's skin, exposing maggots beneath. It is a terrifying sight which causes Dylan to yelp. Horrified, he bolts off. It's a normal day in the community. People are going about their daily lives, eating and drinking, socializing and gardening, practicing meditation and engaging in recreational activities. Seated on the ground outside his tent, Dylan is observing his surroundings and munching on a pear. "You're new, aren't you?" Dylan's gaze shifts up to a girl in her 20s standing over him sporting a welcoming smile. Her name is Ocean. "Welcome. How's everything so far?" Dylan stands up then replies.
"Still trying to figure that part out."
"No worries. It's easy to adjust here."
"Which part of the forest do you live?"
"Across the river with my husband and son."
"Not much for kids to do around here."
"Like we adults, children here find happiness in stuff money can't buy." Michael walks into frame, a warm smile upon his face.
"I see you two have met."
Ocean shoots Michael a smile then addresses Dylan. "Call me Ocean. I'm off to a prayer meeting. I really hope that you decide to stay with us permanently." She gives Dylan her best smile before walking away. Michael addresses Dylan.
"It's going to be a busy day. I've got 2 houses to build." "Actual houses?" "What you see here is but a portion of the community. On the other side of the river are homes of residents who've been with us a year or longer and wish to upgrade a bit. Recreation center, library, competitive sports. Quite a bit to do on the other side of the river. Hang around and find out for yourself."
Dylan looks pleasantly surprised. Michael gives him an encouraging pat on the back then leaves. Right then, Dylan's cell phone rings. He takes out his cell, looks to the display. It's Jezebel. Placing the cell phone back into his pocket, he starts to walk toward the pathway. Thunder roars drawing his attention to the sky. There sit bright star twinkling down at him. Dylan understands what this is all about. He walks about grinning at the bright star, removes his cell phone from his pocket, which has been ringing the whole time, and hits a button to block Jezebel. Then, he hits a different button before putting the phone to his ear and speaking into it.
"Mom, calling to let you know that I've accomplished all my goals. God must have heard your prayers because Hollywood is a thing of the past and I'm kinda in love with where I am now. Thanks, Mom. Love you too."
He places the phone back into his pocket. Chin held high, Dylan struts off into the community, the proud owner of a new home and perspective on life.
Luke 12 verse 15, "And he said to them, Take heed, and beware of covetousness, For a man's life consists not in the abundance of the things which he possesses.